Have you ever looked at someone who seems to have their life together and wondered, how do they do it? They're disciplined. They wake up early, they hit the gym, they stay on top of their work, and they seem to just get things done. It looks effortless. Meanwhile, you might be struggling to get through your day without hitting snooze 5 times or skipping out on tasks because it's just too hard to stay consistent. But here's the thing. What if I told you that achieving discipline doesn't have to be hard? What if I told you that you can become one of those highly disciplined people and do it in a way that feels natural, not like you're constantly battling yourself? The truth is, discipline can be easy, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to achieve it. The truth about discipline. Before we dive into the steps, let's clear something up. Most people have a completely wrong idea about discipline. We think that discipline means grinding, suffering, and constantly forcing ourselves to do things we don't want to do. That's why so many people give up before they even start. They think discipline requires too much energy or willpower. But here's the truth. Discipline isn't about willpower. Sure, you'll need some, but willpower is limited. You can't rely on it alone to get you through life. Discipline is more about creating systems and habits that make it easier to do the right thing than the wrong thing. It's about setting yourself up so that discipline feels like the path of least resistance. Think about it this way. The people you admire for their discipline don't necessarily have more self-control than you. They've just built their lives in a way that makes discipline automatic. It's not something they have to constantly work at because they've created routines and environments that support their goals. And you can do the same thing. Step 1. Make it easier to do the right thing. The first secret to making discipline easy is to set yourself up for success. Most people set goals but don't think about how their environment affects their ability to achieve them. If you're constantly fighting against a difficult or unsupportive environment, it's no wonder you struggle with discipline. Let's break this down with an example. Say you want to eat healthier. It sounds simple enough, right? But if your kitchen is full of junk food and you don't have any healthy snacks readily available, sticking to that goal is going to feel impossible. You'll be fighting cravings every time you open the pantry. The key to discipline here is to make the healthy choice the easiest choice. Stock your fridge with pre-cut veggies, fruits, and protein-packed snacks. Put the junk food out of sight, or better yet, don't buy it at all. This applies to every area of your life. Want to work out more? Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Have your workout plan ready so you don't have to think about it when you wake up. If you have a home workout space, keep it uncluttered and easy to access. The fewer obstacles there are between you and your desired action, the easier it will be to stay disciplined. The goal is to remove friction from the process. Make it easier to do the thing you want to be disciplined about. Whether it's preparing your workspace for the next day, meal prepping for the week, or scheduling focused blocks of time for your tasks. Think of it like paving the road so you don't have to push as hard to get where you're going. Step 2. Start with tiny habits. Another huge mistake people make when trying to develop discipline is starting too big. You want to get in shape, so you commit to going to the gym 6 days a week. You want to read more, so you aim for a book a week. You want to get better at time management, so you overhaul your entire schedule overnight. And what happens? You get overwhelmed. It's too much, too fast, and you burn out. The trick to building discipline easily is to start with habits so small that they feel almost ridiculous. Let's say you want to develop the discipline to exercise regularly. Instead of telling yourself you're going to run 5 miles a day, start by committing to just putting on your running shoes and walking around the block. Sounds easy, right? That's the point. You want the habit to be so small that it's impossible to fail. Why does this work? It's because the hardest part of any task is just getting started. Once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going. If you start by walking around the block, you'll probably end up walking further. You might even feel inspired to jog a little. But even if you don't, you've still succeeded in taking action. And that's what matters. Over time, you can gradually increase the size of the habit. Maybe after a week of walking around the block, you start jogging. Maybe after a month, you're running a mile. The key is to let your success build gradually so that discipline doesn't feel like a huge, overwhelming task. Step 3. Attach your discipline to your identity. This is a powerful concept that most people miss. If you want to be disciplined in a way that feels natural and easy, you need to shift the way you see yourself. Instead of focusing solely on what you want to do, focus on who you want to become. Let me explain. If you set a goal to run every day, that's a great goal. But what happens if you miss a day? You'll probably feel like a failure, like you broke your streak, and it'll be easy to give up. But if you focus on becoming the kind of person who values fitness and health, you're less likely to let a missed workout throw you off. You'll simply get back on track the next day because working out is part of who you are, not just something you do. This is called identity-based habits. Instead of saying, "I want to be disciplined enough to read every day," you say, "I am a reader." Instead of saying, "I want to exercise," you say, "I am an active person." When discipline becomes tied to your identity, it becomes easier because you're not constantly questioning whether you'll stick with it. It's simply who you are. A great way to reinforce this is to start thinking and acting like the version of yourself you want to become. If you want to be disciplined about writing, ask yourself, what would a successful writer do? Then start doing those things, even in small ways. Over time, these actions will solidify your new identity, and discipline will feel like a natural extension of who you are, not something you have to force yourself into. Step 4. Use the power of momentum. One of the best ways to make discipline easy is to take advantage of the power of momentum. Have you ever noticed that once you start doing something, it's easier to keep going? That's because of something called the Zeigarnik effect, which states that people remember unfinished tasks better than completed ones. When you start something, your brain doesn't like leaving it incomplete, so it pushes you to finish it. The hardest part is often just getting started, but once you do, you can ride that wave of momentum to keep going. This is why it's so important to focus on small wins. Each time you follow through on your discipline, even in a tiny way, you build momentum. That momentum creates motivation, and before you know it, you're accomplishing things that seemed impossible when you first started. Think about it. How much easier is it to continue working on a project once you've made some progress? It's like pushing a boulder. The initial push is tough, but once it's rolling, it takes much less effort to keep it moving. The same principle applies to discipline. Every time you complete a small action toward your goal, you're building momentum that makes it easier to keep going. To use this to your advantage, focus on doing something, anything, to start the momentum. Even if it's just 5 minutes of focused work or a quick task, that small action will make it easier to stay disciplined throughout the day. The key is consistency. Even if you don't feel like it, do something, because momentum will take over once you're in motion. Step 5. Reward yourself along the way. One of the biggest misconceptions about discipline is that it has to be all work and no play. People often think discipline means suffering through tasks without any joy or reward. But here's a secret. You can build discipline while still enjoying the process. In fact, rewarding yourself can make discipline feel easier and more sustainable. The human brain is wired to seek rewards. If you don't give yourself positive reinforcement along the way, discipline will start to feel like a punishment. This is why so many people fall off track. They're not enjoying the journey. But you can change that by building small rewards into your routine. For example, if you complete a difficult task or stick to a habit for a certain number of days, reward yourself with something you enjoy. It doesn't have to be anything huge. Maybe it's watching an episode of your favorite show, enjoying a nice meal, or taking some time to relax. The point is to create positive associations with disciplined behavior, so it feels like something you look forward to, not something you dread. Over time, the act of doing the task itself can become its own reward. But at the start, especially when building new habits, it's important to make the process enjoyable. This way, you're more likely to stick with it, and discipline becomes a positive experience rather than a chore. Step 6. Track your progress. One of the easiest ways to stay disciplined is to track your progress. When you see tangible results from your efforts, it reinforces your commitment and makes it easier to keep going. Tracking your progress gives you a sense of accomplishment, even if you're just taking small steps. It shows you that your efforts are adding up and moving you closer to your goals. Whether you're trying to lose weight, save money, or develop a new skill, keeping a record of your progress can be incredibly motivating. There are plenty of apps that can help you track habits and goals, or you can keep it old school with a simple journal or checklist. The key is to make your progress visible. Every time you check off a day on your habit tracker or see a measurable improvement, you're reinforcing the belief that you can be disciplined. And here's a bonus tip: celebrate your progress. Don't wait until you've reached the finish line to acknowledge your efforts. Take pride in every small win along the way. This keeps you motivated and helps discipline feel like a journey of growth rather than a series of difficult tasks. Discipline doesn't have to be hard. So there you have it. Discipline, the easy way. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate or relying on willpower to get through the day. It's about designing your life in a way that makes the right choices easier. It's about starting small, building momentum, attaching discipline to your identity, and rewarding yourself along the way. Discipline doesn't have to be a struggle. It can be something that feels natural, enjoyable, and empowering. The key is to approach it in a way that works with your brain and your environment, not against them. Remember, the journey to becoming disciplined is just that, a journey. You don't have to change everything overnight. Start small, make it easy, and before you know it, discipline will become a part of who you are. It's not a battle, it's a path of growth. And now you have the tools to make it easier than ever.